Hello everyone, my name is Delaney Reynolds and I am a 21-year-old climate activist from Miami, Florida, as well as the founder and CEO of the Sink or Swim Project and MiamiSeaRise.com. First and foremost, thank you so much to Sam and Elliot and everyone at It's Time for having me today. This festival is so unbelievably important, especially with the COP conference being postponed due to COVID. I hope that everyone is staying healthy and safe, but we must keep our climate change crisis in mind, at the forefront of our mind, because we are experiencing so many implications, especially here in South Florida with a crazy hurricane season and flooding and other impacts all over the world. So I do hope that you will continue to think about climate change. And thank you, of course, for being here. That's a great first step in thinking about climate change and keeping it in your mind and considering what you can do to help solve our climate change crisis. So today I'm going to be speaking to you a little bit about how I became involved with climate change activism and the work that I do through the Sink or Swim Project. So allow me to share my screen and we can get started. So, like I said, I'm the founder and CEO of the Sink or Swim Project, so I'd like to give you a little bit of backstory as to how I got involved with climate change. I'm the fourth generation of my family to live in Miami, Florida. So I was born and raised here in Miami, but growing up, I split my time between this very cosmopolitan city with millions of people and a very small 1,000-acre island in the Florida Keys called No Name Key. It's a very special place. It's in the middle of two wildlife refuges, so it's very protected, and there are only 40 homes on the island, all of which are solar powered. So I grew up learning about sustainability and loving the environment, everything having to do with the ocean, whether I was swimming with sea turtles or fishing for all sorts of different species of snapper, grouper, you name it. I loved being in and around the water. And that love for nature led me to ultimately write, illustrate, and publish 3 children's books on ecology topics based on that island in the Florida Keys, No Name Key. While I was researching for these books, I was learning more and more about climate change, how it was impacting those habitats that I loved, those animals, the state of Florida, the United States, the world as a whole. And I decided that I wanted to write my 4th book on climate change and sea level rise. So I got to work. I started to interview scientists to learn as much of the science as I could. I started to interview homeowners and business owners to learn how they were being impacted so that I could share their story and hope that other people could put themselves in their shoes and see what it was like to live with these implications. And I also started to interview politicians to learn what they were doing in their local communities, if anything, to help address the problem. Now, along the way, I decided that I wanted to take all this information that I was learning and share it with others, especially other kids, because I figured that if I wasn't learning this in school and only on my own time, then it was likely that other kids weren't learning it in school either. And because I was so concerned, I wanted to share this knowledge with others. So I created the Sink or Swim Project. Now, the Sink or Swim Project today is a nonprofit organization that has 2 main goals. Number 1 is to educate as many people as possible about the climate change crisis that we face through science, through facts, and to show them what solutions we can implement in our lives to help make a difference. And the second thing that the Sink or Swim Project focuses on is political advocacy. Whether that's local, statewide, federal-wide, or even globally, we work with politicians to implement funding, write laws, or just really focus on climate change in any way that they can, as you'll see later on in my talk when I give a few examples. So I don't want to go too much into science. However, I did want to at least share this graph because to me, this is the most important graph when it comes to climate change. It pretty much boils it down to what the cause is. So what you're looking at is you're looking at the carbon dioxide concentration and the global temperature in our atmosphere. So you can see that this bold line here, that's carbon dioxide, and the blue and the red is the temperature of our planet. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is that since about 1980, the temperature of our planet has not dropped below this average line. In fact, it's steadily been increasing. And that the bold line, the carbon dioxide, trends in a very similar, if not almost exact same manner as the temperature, which shows us that that's not a coincidence. These things are correlated. So with an increased use of man burning fossil fuels and pumping carbon dioxide into our environment, especially during and after the Industrial Revolution, comes an increase in our planet's temperature, which then leads to sea level rise and wildfires and all of these other implications that we hear about and know about. So I hope that you will at least remember this graph, if not anything else from my talk today. So far as to what we're seeing in South Florida, like I said, increased temperatures lead to melting glaciers, especially in Greenland and Antarctica. And that melted water makes its way all the way down here to South Florida and all across the globe, causing sea level rise, as well as thermal expansion from the increased temperatures. Now, what that looks like here in South Florida is some very drastic flooding that we see very often. In fact, this week, as I sit here and record this presentation, we are experiencing some terrible flooding from increased sea levels, as well as one of the tropical storms that has come in from the Atlantic Ocean. One of many in our record-breaking season this summer, unfortunately. And so what you're going to watch right now in this video is a video of a place called Matheson Hammock State Park. This is a place that I learned to swim, my brother learned to swim, my father before us learned how to swim in, and it's very near and dear to my heart. It's less than a mile away from my home here in Miami. And what you're going to watch is you're going to watch salt water from Biscayne Bay right behind me gush in over a road, over a beach, and into a man-made pool. I'll let you watch the video now.
Hey guys, this is Delaney from the Sink or Swim Project, and I'm at Matheson Hammock Park right now. If you ever wondered what sea level rise looks like with high tide, in this case king tide, you're looking at it. Salt water is gushing in from the bay, up over a road, into a saltwater lagoon, and all over the park, completely flooding it. It's Sunday, October 7th, and it's just after 8 o'clock, and so if you ever wondered what salt water looks like flooding a place, this is what it looks like. This is what salt water flooding South Florida's future will look like.
So like you just saw, that water is absolutely gushing into the park, flooding it beyond belief. And what's extremely unfortunate is that while this video is actually from a year ago, this section of the park is actually blocked off and no longer accessible because of the incessant flooding and damage that it is receiving. You can no longer visit this section of the park or walk to it. So clearly, this is an issue that we need to solve. And that's just a small portion of what we've been seeing here in South Florida. Sunny day flooding events like this one, like you just saw in that video, right now occur about 6 times per year here in Miami-Dade County. However, by 2030, by the time that I am 30 years old, we could see flooding events like this 80 times per year. And by 2045, by the time that I'm 45 years old, we could see flooding events like this 380 times per year, sometimes more than once a day during the 2 high tides. So this is a very serious problem, and this is happening all over South Florida. Now, the good news is kids get it. Kids get it all over the world. We understand the science, we understand the gravity of the issue, and most importantly, we are very passionate about implementing solutions into our society. So here, this picture that you're looking at is just a little snippet of my educational work through the Sink or Swim Project. Like I said, I give presentations that expose children to the science, to the solutions, the implications, all sorts of different things so that they can better understand what we're seeing here in our community and all across the world. And what I can gladly tell you is that most of the time, kids actually have better questions about the climate change crisis and about what we can do to actually solve the problem than most adults that I speak to. And that gives me tremendous hope for the future. The other aspect of the Sink or Swim Project is political advocacy work, like I mentioned. So in this case, this is pretty much when I got started, back in 2015.